Hey there everyone, my name is MegaMadVlad, and Bethesda recently gave us a little bit more information on what to expect at the launch of Deathloop, and starting with the PC specs and launch details. So as you can see here, it says Deathloop PC specs and launch details. This came out yesterday, September 7th, 2021. Today is actually currently the 8th for me as of the recording of this. So get ready for the launch of Deathloop with all of the launch day details, including PC specs, preload times, and global unlock times. So they're giving us quite a bit of information with this right here. It's nothing too out there in terms of what to expect, but some people might be looking forward to this game and want to know if their PC rig, can handle this and can actually play it in, some good quality, and they can really enjoy it to its fullest. So let's get right into the nitty gritty. Deathloop launches exclusively for consoles on PlayStation 5 on September 14th and will be available on PC on the same day. So they had to say obviously exclusively for consoles because it's only coming on the PlayStation 5. I don't believe that's permanent. I believe that is a timed exclusive. So continuing, the PC specs. This is where a lot of people are going to be interested right here because a lot of people want to play in the best quality that they're able to. So what they actually do here is not just the bare minimum of giving us recommended and minimum specs, but they also gave us the top tier of what to expect to perform ultra 4K specs, 4K 60 FPS with ultra settings. So we're talking like top of the line right there, 4K 60 and with all the highest graphics and still maintaining this 4K 60. So operating system, obviously 64-bit Windows 10, version 1909 or higher. And then the processor, Intel Core i9-10900K, very new, at 3.70 gigahertz, or AMD Ryzen 7 3800 XT. So hopefully that really tickles your fancy there. Memory, 16 gigabyte system RAM, pretty much what you would expect anyway. A bunch of people would actually have 16 gigabytes minimum for their typical gaming PCs, but some people actually go above and beyond even that. But it's not like having too much RAM can be a bad thing either. But now the main part right here, graphics. NVIDIA RTX 3080 10 gigabyte or AMD Radeon RX 6800 XT 16 gigabyte. So we're talking pretty top of the line graphics cards right there. That right there is pretty much what to expect with actually being able to maintain a solid 4K 60. Bugs not included because we don't actually have our hands on the game yet to say yay or nay. So that's what to expect as of right now, just to maintain the top of the line. Now, as for recommended specs here, we got a solid 1080p 60 FPS with high settings. That is their recommended. Now, recommended, it is not a top of the line kind of specs category. Recommended is always average, something that you can kind of really enjoy the game with still, if you're not too graphics heavy. So same operating system here, 64-bit Windows 10 version 1909 or higher. It's going to be the same thing with the minimum specs as well. That's what you need to actually play the game. So that notwithstanding right there, processor, Intel Core i7-9700K at 3.60 gigahertz or AMD Ryzen 7 2700X. So we're definitely going back a little bit there. So definitely a lot more manageable for anybody who's either around that or even higher. Memory is going to be 16 gigabytes right there. And then graphics, here it is for recommended. NVIDIA RTX 2060 6 gigabyte or AMD Radeon RX 5700 8 gigabyte. So the thing about that surprises me here is actually the fact that for recommended it's a 2060. While it's definitely not top of the line by any means, it's still actually not that bad of a graphics card. So what I have, for instance, for me, I have a 2080 in my rig. So that's actually getting close right there. I'm kind of surprised they're actually, you know, saying that that's the recommended. That's getting close to where I am. And then finally, for minimum specs, saying absolute bare bones, you can run this, but it's not going to be the prettiest. And it's going to be, they're still at least giving you some quality here of 1080p 30 FPS, because yes, that going from 30 to 60 does still take a bit of hit, and with low settings, that's how you get the 1080p. So obviously same operating system, 1909 or higher. Now processor, you get Intel Core i5-8400 at 2.80 gigahertz or AMD Ryzen 5 1600. So definitely going back down in there. Now, pretty much any sort of rig that you can get that's a decent price is typically going to be higher than this. So you're not going to have too much to worry there. Now, the graphics right here. NVIDIA GTX 1060 6GB or AMD Radeon RX 580 8GB. Now this one just hits me in the feels right here because my very first graphics card was an AMD Radeon RX 580. So I know exactly firsthand what the minimum specs is capable of now. That really throws me through a loop. But again, this is for minimum specs. NVIDIA GTX 1060 or the Radeon RX 580. We're definitely getting back there, but we're only talking about what, 5-6 years ago kind of thing. These graphics cards, while they're definitely not new, they're not powerful, they are still newer. They're still very workable. Considering this is the minimum, I'm definitely surprised about it. So continuing on from there, you obviously need 30 gigabytes of space, and for the minimum specs they want you to have it at least on an HDD hard drive. And then for recommended and ultra, they want you to have it on a solid state drive. All right, continuing from there, PC advanced settings, visuals, standard settings. Now the field of view itself can be brought between 65 and all the way up to 110. And then you have ultra wide support. I do not have an ultra wide monitor myself, so I can't say I'm very excited about that. But regardless, for all you ultra wide users out there, good on you. And then AMD Fidelity FX super resolution support. So essentially what that means right there is NVIDIA itself has something called DLSS, which essentially makes it so that way it's not going to, the game can look prettier and it's not going to be all straight on your graphics card itself, making it do more work. So there's stuff in the background that can be done to actually make the game prettier and run better, run smoother. And this right here is AMD's answer to that, considering it's the rival company, Fidelity FX. And then you get to the visual advanced settings. Now this is basically all the stuff that you can tune in the settings and whatnot, in terms of being able to turn up or down, ultra, low, so on and so forth. You get texture details, model details, shadow details, water, terrain, decal, ambient, sun, post-process, anti-aliasing, TWAA sharpness, sharpness post-process, camera motion blur. Please, for the love of God, turn that one off. Bloom, yes or no. Depth of field, yes or no. Lens flare, yes or no. Do you want to be Michael Bay? This one is for you. Especially this answer. And then light shafts, yes or no. And then gameplay options, head bob, 0 to 100. This kind of confused me, but the more I think about it, I'm kind of wondering if it's basically 0 would be if you're playing as, like, the head bob, what I'm thinking of is when you move, does your screen move up and down? So in other words, is it like Doom or is it realistic? That's the only thing I can think of right there. And like I said, it's a little bit confusing right there, but that's the only thing that pops in my head as to what that could possibly be. We'll find out later. So the language and subtitles to be expected. You get the typical stuff right there: subtitles, small, medium, large. So the fact that you can change the subtitle size is actually a big up right there, because a lot of games did not start doing that until recently, because a lot of people actually have been, talking about that on, social media, on YouTube, so on and so forth, complaining about that fact right there, where subtitles will be there. Yes, they need them. However, sometimes they're just a bit too small for some people. The screen is a bit farther away. The TV is very far away from your eyes and whatnot. Maybe it's not that big of a TV, so on and so forth. It kind of makes it into a point where you need to squint, get closer, whatever. It's this little line that ends up on there, and a lot of times it's people with glasses and any sort of hearing problem, or continuing with that, it could be anybody who wants to make sure they didn't just miss what somebody said, so on and so forth. And then you can kind of differentiate how they display by none, meaning no subtitles. You have main dialogue, so anything that's going to progress the story, or anything that's like a major character, or all dialogue, which all dialogue sometimes can be like a mixed thing, where sometimes it's, for instance, Colt right here, you have the AIs, the mobs, and essentially they could be talking to themselves and whatnot, and that could be considered as all dialogue, which is sometimes what a lot of people want. They want to make sure they get what people say. Sometimes they can say a secret that's going to lead you into trying to figure out this time loop and whatnot. A little secret, a little tidbit, something you didn't pick up on the first run. But however, another aspect is sometimes I have had this in a few games where I tried doing all dialogue. Well, actually, this is listed as all dialogue, so it might be different, but sometimes some games actually have it to where they even do the sound effects. It's going to be in like 2 asterisks, and it explains what item is doing what. So there's that as well. That is a possibility. And then preload. This is where a lot of people, myself included, are going to be looking at this for. So digital preload is available on PlayStation 5 and PC. So yes, you get preload regardless of which platform you're on. That is good news. And then preload on PS5 will start 48 hours before Deathloop launches in your region. So you can, as long as you digitally pre-ordered it, you didn't just buy the disc from like a store or whatever that's nearby to you, this means you have the ownership on your console already. Now, 48 hours before it launches in your region. So wherever your region is for the PlayStation 5, that's going to be explained down here. Deathloop unlocks at 12 a.m. midnight in your time zone on September 14th. So 2 days before that would be 12 a.m. midnight, September 12th. And that's going to be wherever you are in the world, whatever your time zone is, be it Japan, Europe, whatever. Now, continuing. And PC preload will begin globally at 1 p.m. Eastern on September 12th. So that means right there that wherever you are in the world, it is 100% going to be 1 p.m. Eastern. So if you would like to get some times, figure out when that is right there, that is something that you can look up on Google. Find your time zone and specify it specifically to EDT or EST. That's going to be Eastern Standard Time. And there you have it. That right there is definitely some information that we definitely wanted to see. And I cannot wait to play this game, because Deathloop itself is something that has been on my mind for a while now. I am a big Arcane fan with, Dishonored 1 and 2. Oh my gosh, Dishonored 1 and 2 are some of my some of my favorite games themselves, because the level design is superb. You have very fun and addicting gameplay, and then you can just mess with the AI all the time while figuring out secrets. And then also the playthroughs are going to be different. You can do them level by level, and just replay the level and then go in and do it a different way and figure out what's going to happen here. Why, like, if you do this, what happens with this? If you go this route, what happens here? If you kill this person right here, or if you kill a lot of people on your playthrough, that's going to be a more negative approach right there, meaning more things to harass you, as opposed to if you go in silently and only knock out. Now, that right there is Dishonored. Deathloop itself is a different beast entirely. I shouldn't say different beast entirely. It's similar in terms of its gameplay, its look as well. Now, the whole concept here is the Deathloop itself, the time loop. Now, every time Colt dies, the day resets, and I think it also resets after a certain amount of time as well, if you do not actually win the game itself. So, it's definitely been something that's been on my mind for a while now, and the fact that I just found out recently that the other character, I can't remember her name at the moment, but she is essentially what brings into this game player versus player. So imagine this scenario here. You're trying to do all of this stuff right now. You're trying to kill all of the people on your hit list, and then you have another player that just pops in here and is hunting you down specifically, trying to find you, trying to take you down. You can take them down, but they can also take you down and ruin your time loop. That is a very interesting aspect that I would love to see and would love to play around with. And besides that, who knows what kind of person you would get on the other side. All right, with that in mind, guys, thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate you all, and I will see you all next time. Adios.